Hello guys and welcome to a unit review video for the new Summer Carnival story and units that we're getting. For some reason I am wearing a shirt and a bow tie and I blame the Twitch chat for that because they've made me do this for the video. Apparently the views are gonna exponentially scale up, so we'll see if that holds true or not. But we're gonna be looking at the 4 new adventurers and the 2 new assists that we're getting in the event. So and also I guess we'll shortly mention the gallant, the Amit free unit that we're also getting. So yeah, the Amit is a balanced free unit that everyone's gonna be able to get just by MLBing. I'm not gonna fully read the entire skills, but she's basically a support unit of sorts, and she extends. If you're missing a unit that extends buffs of your allies, she extends the buffs for 2 turns. So if you don't have something like the red dress Haruhime, you might be able to use her, but basically for everybody that has all the other units that are better than her, you're not really gonna see her pretty much anywhere. So we're not gonna go into detail about her, but we'll move on to the Ice, which is a physical water unit, mostly aimed for war game. She has over 2000 strength and an agility of 850, which is actually pretty low for a unit that is meant to be used in war game, which means that she will be relatively slow. Her special attack is an ultra water physical attack with ultra penetration rate and temporary strength boost, and it also decreases the water resist of the enemies by 50%. That's pretty common on some of the essays that we see lately, and we also had the same thing on the Lily assist, the minus 50% water resist. The skill 1 is an AoE water resist minus 35% and minus guard rate minus 30%, and then she also gains 2 actions, 2 AoE water actions. I'm surprised by the fact that the water resist is only minus 35% because they have been doing minus 40% during anniversary. So the fact that it's only 35% makes me think that these banners or units were either meant to be released before the anniversary, and maybe because the anime got moved, they're released afterwards or something like that. I'm not sure. Or they're just making them a little bit weaker on the numbers than the anniversary units to make the anniversary units stand out a little bit more. So that's, I guess, why the unit is on minus 35%, not minus 40% resistance. The skill 2 is a fast high water attack, so the fast modifier being actually important here because she doesn't have a lot of agility, and then she also does the AoE resist and single target resist minus 20%, which is a useful effect to have. She also has a single target attack, but usually for AoE units the single attacks don't really matter that much, but it does do plus 40% for every single target resist debuff on enemies, so I guess plus 80% damage with a high modifier. So it's not a bad hitting attack, but it's okay, I suppose. She has normal water counters. She doesn't have extra counter damage, so yeah, she is kind of a useful unit for wargame, I suppose. I can't really predict whether or not she'll actually have a place, but she's nothing exceptional and nothing like to really go out of your way to MLB. All the new adventurers, the hitting adventurers, have an Aqua Killer passive. So basically the next Familia event, which is either the Familia Rush or the Familia Royale, is gonna probably be with Aqua enemies. So that's something to take note as well. So all of these units will be useful, at least in that Familia Rush / Familia Royale, if nothing else, and they will design the enemies to make them useful as well. So moving on to the Lunor, she is also a physical water AoE unit with a pretty much the same strength stat as Ice and a higher agility rate, so in theory she should be faster than the Ice. Her essay is an ultra water physical attack, and it reduces the or it gains damage based on every physical resist debuff on the enemy, so it can gain up to 100% extra damage. Her skill 1 is a fast counter rate and heal up, and then it also increases your magic resist by 35% of all the allies, and then she has a self strength plus 65%. So this skill makes me want to put her in a kind of stall team composition of some sorts, although the effects are nothing like really crazy. So basically you're going to be countering more and you're going to be healing more, and that is useful if you're doing the stall composition. But if you're taking too much damage and you're not able to counter and heal that up in time, then your units are gonna die regardless. So it's nothing like really game changing in the stall and team composition, and I don't really see that being used in non-stall team composition. The magic resist, I guess, is good if you are facing all of the magic rush teams that are currently running wild in the war games. But we do have 30% buffs with Haruhime for the magic resistance, and that's also armor, so I'm not sure about this and Lunor as in general. Her skill 2 is a high water attack with temporary strength boost, and it also has physical resist minus 30% and counter rate and heal rate minus 35%. So basically what it increases for you, the counter of that, I mean the opposite of that, it decreases for the enemy. So I guess it makes the enemy stall or healing and countering worse, while also making the physical resist worse. So she is potentially useful, but not sure. She also has a single target attack with skill damage plus 30%, so it's a little bit less hitting, I mean weaker than the Isis one with 40%, but the single target attack usually isn't even that relevant. She does have counter damage up, but I don't think that comes into application. I mean, I guess they wanted to make that because the unit does buff counter rate, so I guess your unit should be countering more in Wargame, but I don't see her being used in PvE. I mean, at least not in Record Buster. She also doesn't have Aqua Killer, if this translation is correct, so she is a little bit weaker because of that. Doesn't end up dealing that much damage. So she's kind of a support physical unit of some sorts, and I'm not sure if we're gonna see her everywhere or not. I mean, if we're gonna see her anywhere, or if she's gonna be out. What I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna look at the assist from the banner next, the Hestia, because this is the banner that is the banner composition. So there's Eyes, the Lunor, the two adventures we just covered, and then there's the Hestia. So if you look at the Hestia, she has a high agility stat, not the highest we've seen, but it's pretty high regardless, of 600. And then her strength and magic buff, which is usually the other things I look at, so the top one and the bottom one are pretty low, so you don't really want to put her on your main damage dealers because it's lacking the stats for PvE or for Record Buster. And then her effect is strength and magic plus 15% and water damage plus 20%. So this is basically the same as the Syr unit that we had in the past. So this one, the Faithful Formal Syr Flover unit, which did pretty much the same effect. It just swapped water with light damage, and the Syr does see some play, but it's not like a huge game changer because we have other units that buff the light damage up, and we have other units that buff strength and magic, so it's kind of hard to fit her in a team composition. Since there are other units, it's like yeah, so like she will be a good unit to have, I suppose, and it's definitely valuable to get at least one copy of her, but if we look at the banner as a whole, the 3 units that we did cover, then I think it's not really worth to go out of your way and like do all the steps on this banner, because of the fact that the units aren't really like majorly good or majorly game changing. So I myself am only probably gonna do one pull on this, and maybe you guys should consider doing something similar. So the next banner that we're gonna be looking at, or the units from the banner, is the second one with Lena, Haruhime as the adventurers and the Syr as the assist. And in my opinion, this banner is much better than the first banner, because both Lena is a strong single target hitter and the Syr is a useful assist, and I will show you guys why when I read the skills. So the first down that we're gonna be looking at is a Haruhime, which is a strength, let me just water, yeah, it's physical water AoE unit with also a similar strength value. Her agility is pretty high with 1100 plus, so that's a good thing about her. The special attack is an ultra water physical attack with ultra crit pen and temporary boost, and then she also increases the water damage of the entire team by 50%. So this is definitely great for any unit that doesn't already have a water damage buff for itself. Speaking of water buffs, she buffs herself for 30% strength and the water buff of the allies for 35%. So actually she only increases the buff by doing the special attack. She only increases the buff by 15%, but it's definitely worth to have that buff. The turn timer is 5, so that's not ever gonna fade if you're extending. And then she also does gain 2 additional actions, which are low water physical attacks. So it's definitely what we expect out of units that are supposed to hit now. The skill 2 is a super water physical attack with ultra uncounter rate and temporary strength boost, and then it also gives the allies 20% HP regen. So the HP regen, I suppose, is useful because the unit is probably meant more so for wargame. Of course, it's going to be used with Aqua Killer, it's going to be used for Familia Rush or Familia Royale that's coming out. But in general, like, the HP regen is nice to have, but it's not something that would like make you pick this unit and put her in a composition instead of something else. So we'll see how that ends up turning out. And then her skill 3 is a high water physical attack plus 40% for each water damage buff. So nothing like insanely high for the single target skill, obviously, because it is mostly meant as an AoE unit. She does have water elementals, and she does have HP and mana regen as well, which is relatively useful. So yeah, I don't think the unit is incredibly good. The skill 2 might actually hit pretty hard because of the fact that it's a super water attack with a temporary strength boost. So after being buffed by her skill 1, she might actually hit relatively hard in wargame, but I can't really make a proper prediction because I don't imagine how water teams are gonna look as these units come out in wargame, and if they're able to compete with the current meta of Magic Rush with like Lyra, Ryu, Light Reveria, RD, stuff like that. The teams like that, I'm not sure if the water team composition would be able to compete, but it's definitely something to keep in mind, and we'll be able to see that once Wargame comes back around after the units are live, and we'll see if she's actually good or if she's just mediocre, I suppose. The unit I am pretty sure is gonna do pretty well unless the mana problems that she might have actually hold her back too much. But the Lena is a magic single target light hitter. So her special attack is an ultra light magical attack that gains plus 80% per every magic buff. And then she also decreases the light resistance by 50%. So if I compare this to Kotori, which has been like probably the best single target hitter for fire for like pretty long now, she has the same 80% for every self magic buff. I mean, Kotori has strength, but it's the same numbers. The magic stat is also just 20 or 25 lower, so it's not holding her back at all. And then the light resistance is just another effect on top of that. So she's gonna be dealing more damage than the Kotori was with her special attack for sure, because of the extra light resistance debuff. The skill 1 that she has is a magic, dexterity, and light damage buff plus 60% for 4 turns. So compared to Kotori, she also gains the dexterity buff, which helps her do more counters, more pens, and more crits. And then she also has the 3 additional actions, which is obviously a great improvement over Kotori, which did not have the additional actions. Her skill 2 is a fast, high light magical attack with magical resist and light resistance debuff for 35%. This skill 2 makes her, in combination with her skill 1, it makes her able to be put in pretty much any composition, because you don't need a unit to help her reduce the magic resistance or reduce the light resistance, and you don't need a unit to buff her magic or light damage. So pretty much you can just put her in any team composition that she would fit thematically, I guess, or depending on the enemy weaknesses or stuff like that. You can just put her in and she's gonna do well as a damaging unit. And then obviously the highest healing attack that she's gonna do next to the special art and additional actions is the skill 3, which is a super light magical attack with 80% extra for every magic buff. And this is 30% higher than Kotori, so if Kotori's skill hits for like 550k, then this is gonna hit for close to 700k. But it does have a drawback with removing all magic buffs on self, so basically you can't use this every turn because of the fact that without the magic buff it's gonna deal 160% less damage. So we either want to run one more unit that buffs the magic of it, or you want to have your skill order be so that she gains the magic buff back for herself. So we'll see if she's actually as insane as I think she is. And obviously she has light attack damage counters. She also has crits and pen damage plus 20%, which makes the special attacks and all of her attacks deal even more. And obviously the Aqua Killer as well. The assist of the banner is the Syr. And Syr has a really high magic stat and a decent dexterity stat, so that makes her a good unit to put on your main damage dealers, for example, the Lena. I want to compare. Okay, so the skill is magic plus 20% and light and wind attack damage by 15%. And I do want to compare this unit to Hephaestus, the Hephaestus for water and fire damage. So it's pretty much the same. The magic stat is pretty much the same, and she has the same numbers. The only thing that's changed is the element of the assist. So instead of being fire and water, it's light and wind. And Hephaestus has been pretty much the top tier assist for increasing your water damage and your fire damage, and also the 20% magic buff with a high magic stat. So the Syr is also gonna do incredibly well, and you do want to definitely get as many copies of the Syr as you want, because she will be useful for a pretty long time. And I myself am gonna be focusing on this banner more, and I'm gonna hope to get as many copies of Syr and Lena as possible, despite the fact that Haruhime is also a really cool looking waifu. But yeah, that's been it for all the units that came out or are coming out in a day or two. I hope you enjoyed the unit review. I hope you found out everything that you wanted to know about the units, and I hope you don't go and spend too much iris on it, even though the second banner is really good and you probably want to do all the 10 steps. So yeah, thank you very much for watching the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye!